This is hopefully the last part in the series. I want us to look at the draw menu. Lastly, we looked at insert menu. Now we go to draw, and draw gives you a number of tools to be creative to draw. We'll just show you how we can do this, especially if your laptop is touch screen. Then you will be able to freely draw anything that you want. I majorly use this for signing on documents. So I would, before coming here to this menu, I would go to home, probably enlarge the document, and if this is the place I needed to append my signature, then I'll pick the right pen, the right width or thickness, and then the color here, and then I go into signing this document. If that was my signature, of course that's too huge. Okay, and then after that you can go to select, then you can go home, and so you can easily use this to sign on documents. It's a good feature. Not all versions of MS Word will have that. Right, we got to design, and here we have a number of menus that are very key. Number one is the watermark. Watermark is more like a security feature that we can add to our document. We could write, let's use a custom watermark. Let's see what this is. So we want to add a watermark into this document, and we can start with text watermark. So I could write here confidential. Sorry. You can set the font. You can set the font and the size, automatic, or pick any of this. Let me use a large size, and it can either be diagonal or horizontal. And let's see what happens once we apply it. You can see the word confidential appearing in this document behind the text. That's what we call a watermark. You can remove it. It's a custom watermark. If you need to remove it again, you can use no watermark. And also you can use a picture watermark. So you get a photo from some source, use this, and then you use that as your watermark. On the scaling, you have all this 100% as is, 50%, half of it. You can use that. I think you are able to see it behind the text here. So that is done sometimes for branding. So I will remove this and go to page color. It's also very important. You can change the entire page color by use of this menu. If this looks better, of course, using very dark colors would conceal some of the text that you've written here. So that's page color. Then we could go to borders, and these are the lines that bind our text. You could you have different options, many options. So you could start with the type that you want to use. You can use a box. Then we go to borders. Pick the type of lines you want to use. This type. What color should they be? Red color, for example, or a darker color of the page color. Then what width should it be? Pick that size. Then do you want to use any art? For now we can do without. Then click on OK. You can see the page borders here. We can go back there on page borders. But just a few things, like supposing we don't want all the lines, we don't want borders at the bottom, then we click on this. We don't want borders at the top, then we click on this, and now we only have on the left and the right. So this can also be done. We can also go back there, and instead of this, we set the art that we want to use, and there you go. I'm not so sure whether you would ever need this, but for the sake of learning, that is how to go about it, and you can remove the sides that are not desirable. So there you go. So those are the major options that you have under design that would be very useful. I'll go to page layout, and we have margins again. As we were printing, we could also set the margin, but it is always a good practice to set the margins as you type the document. So margins, this space in between the boundary lines and the edge of the document. We have some preset margins. Wide, this will appear very well where you have the text, or all this, but also you can set your own here. Set the size for the top, the size for the left, the size for the right and bottom, and then apply. Orientation, portrait, landscape, I think we have no problem with that. And also the paper size, we had looked at this under print menu, but you can pick the paper that you want to use. And especially if your printer allows you to set different papers because it has different trays, then as you type you can specify the paper size that you want. So that all this text is aligned to that. Let me take this back to normal, and then the paper size back to the default, which is letter. Then we go to the next option, which is columns. Look at this. We can split our text into either 2, 3, 4 columns or even more. So I'll select 2. You see that our text is split into 2 columns. So after you type here, that text now goes to the next column, not to the next page. We can also insert some breaks. For example, I want this text to go to the next column, then I can insert column break. If I want it to go to the next page, I can use this. So let me use this, and that goes to the next column. That is layout. Again, you can push this slightly inside by use of this icon here, increasing this size here, decreasing it. Okay, you can use this to push the left side. You can have that also. Then there is the spacing between the paragraphs. You can specify that here. You can see this, the spacing between the paragraphs. You can use that. We will not cover references in this class, but this you can cover later once you know how to craft the references. Then you talk about the different referencing styles, and you can see how that can be applied. Sometimes we install external or additional software to help manage our references and citation. This too is not part of MS Word, so we will not cover that. I now want to go to review and talk about a number of things here. So first we have the thesaurus. This is a dictionary that gives you a lot of synonyms of a given word, words with similar meaning or opposite meaning, and this can help enrich your writing. So write this word range and see whether we have other words that have a similar meaning. And you can see here variety, array, collection, So depending on the context, then you can pick a given word. Word count will just count all the words that you have in this document. Words. You can see that. Okay, I think it was correct. Yes, this is correct. I selected everything first. Okay. Then you have this menu. If you don't want to read, this can read your text. I'll stop it. Then you have translation. Supposing you wanted to translate this document to another language, of course for this to work you need to be online, and then you can translate it to other languages like French. Actually, you could try Kiswahili. I think there's Swahili. You can try it here. Comments. We had looked at comments. We had this on homepage. You can write comments and your friends can look at that. Let me delete that. The other thing is tracking changes. Supposing you send this to your lecturer for grading, your lecturer is most likely will use track changes, so that whatever comments he makes will be tracked. So for example, I change this font size here. Let me go back to review and start tracking changes, track changes. So I could change this, or change the spelling here. A minute. Track changes. Change I'm not sure why it's not tracking changes. So whatever changes you make will be, yeah, it's actually tracking right here. It's tracking here. And when you send this to the next person, then they can go look at all the changes and either accept the change one by one or accept all the changes. This is what your lecturers are likely to do when they are reviewing your work. So this is under review, and we will stop there. The rest of the features, you can actually discover them. Maybe you can say something about view menu. View menu gives us different ways to look at our document. You can go to the read mode, where you are just reading, scrolling through your document. Use escape to go back to the print layout, which is what we usually use when we are editing. There is web layout. This is how this document would appear. An outline, the outline of the document. I can just close this and go back to the main view. Okay. There is focus. You want to really have your good time studying, you can go to the focus mode. That hides everything, all the options and such. Okay. Closed it by mistake. So we're back here. This is the document we're using. Let me pick the right document. It's okay, we can actually continue with this. So view, back to view. So we were talking about focus. You can also go to immersive reader. Different views, different ways really of looking at this. Close this once you're done. View, side to side, if you're comparing to. Okay, then there is the ruler, this scaling here. Sometimes you find it hidden and you want to see it. Then this is how to display it. Grid lines, I don't think you need that, but if you ever needed that, then this is where to get that. Navigation pane here, you can hide it. And then there are thumbnails. All your pages will be shown here, and you have an overview of your documents. I can use escape to get out of this. Let me hide the grid lines. And these are the major options under view. You can also split your document. Supposing you have 2 pages, you can split it like this. 100. So you can split it like this. Different ways of just looking at this. Sorry, I was supposed to escape, not close the document. So that's view. Lastly, these are basically what you need to be very familiar with under view layout, and that's all for this series.